The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. Now, before we get started, please make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel by hitting that subscribe button, hitting that notification bell, leaving a thumbs up, and sharing this on your various social media platforms, because all of that helps the reach and it helps the growth of the channel. And shout out to everybody who's already liked the stream. There's already been like 20 some likes the last time I checked. And I wasn't even on live at the time. So I appreciate every single last one of you guys. Much respect. Salute to the people in the room already. We have our sisters in here. The Donna, I see you, beloved. Sedona Show, I see you. B1 to you. DBS, I see you. If you guys can, I would greatly appreciate that if you guys shared this on your social media platforms, because this is a very important topic and we want as many people to be aware of this type of situation as possible. Warning though, this is going to be a sensitive topic to some people. It's going to make a lot of people upset. It may even trigger some people based off of experiences that they have had. So I'm just letting you know that now. Despite that, it's still very important that we get this message out here. All right. So that's why I have to do it. But yeah, we got people in here already. I appreciate every single last one of you guys. Thank you all for being here. Now, let's just get straight into it. What's up, everybody? B1 to every single last one of you all. No, not the video. So I'm gonna read this. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me see something. Gotta close some. My laptop kind of froze a little bit there. That's okay. Froze a little tad bit. We're gonna read into this. All the way up. Okay, so this is from ABC News. And it's saying, I don't know, my laptop is freezing up a little bit, y'all. Or it's not freezing up, but it's acting slow. But we're still here. We're still handling business. So that's what we're doing. Now, it says Chicago police officers, multiple, under investigation for alleged sexual misconduct with migrants. Okay. Now, this happened a couple days ago. Now, this video, normally I play the video, but this video is just about, how they're all arriving here, and it has actually nothing to do with the situation. So I don't need to play this. Okay. But it starts off saying, the agency that is responsible for Chicago police oversight said Friday it is investigating allegations of sexual misconduct involving police officers and a migrant at the police station. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability said in a statement that the investigation involves members of the CPD assigned to the 10th District and, quote, a migrant temporary housed at the police station. So if you guys have been following my topics, when I talk about this situation going on in Chicago, I've said that a lot of because they're just flooded over here. Thousands of them have been flooding over here, so much so that a lot of them had to be housed in police stations. So because all of the shelters were packed, all of the, what's that other, the shelter, the hotels, that was packed as well too. So they had to start housing them in the police stations. So then in the police stations, now we're starting to see that the police are getting a little bit too comfortable. That's what this is about. So let's look into it. So, and this is for people who might not know, why would they even be over there? Because there's so many of them. Now, it continues to say, a spokesman for the Chicago Police Department confirmed its Bureau of internal affairs is also investigating the alleged allegations, but declined to say if the officers remain on active duty. Now, here's the thing: if the officers were not remained on active duty, if you're declining to say that, that means that the officers involved are still on active duty, because I can guarantee you, if the officers were off duty, they would immediately say that, oh yeah, we're looking into it, they're on paid leave or whatever the case is, they're not on duty. But they're not even saying that these officers aren't still roaming the streets with a gun and a badge. They're not even conveying that much information. Tad bit bigger. It continues to say, quote, "We want to assure the public that all allegations of this nature are the highest priority of the COPA. Will move swiftly to address any misconduct by those involved," said COPA First Deputy Chief Administrator Afro Edie in a statement. Quote, "The compliance with the consent decree (CPA) has jurisdiction to conduct an administrative investigation of sexual assault allegations involving Chicago police officers, and we are obligated to demonstrate our commitment to objectivity, integrity, and transparency when responding to misconduct. CPA's purpose and core mission under the Chicago sorry, y'all. Every time I say that word, it twists up. Municipal code. I don't know why that word is a tongue twister for me. Municipal code is to conduct independent, fact-finding, administrative investigations into the most sensitive allegations of police misconduct on behalf of the public," the statement continued. Then it continues to say, "The Chicago Police Department entered into a consent decree in 2019 to reform policing in Chicago that would focus on accountability, transparency, training, and use of force, among other tenets. Mayor Brandon Johnson's office issued a statement saying, among other allegations being investigated, one officer is accused of sexual misconduct against a minor." So that's a big deal, especially if Brandon Johnson is saying that, because more than likely, when stuff like this happens, when cases like this happens, they all like, oh no, it's not, we don't really know. But if he's admitting there's a minor involved, there's evidence to suggest that he's not just going to say that because he's saying that. If he's admitting that under his administration there are minors being assaulted by police, and we use assault because we don't want to use the R word. If there are minors being assaulted by police and he's admitting that, then more than likely that is the truth. Then it finishes off saying, quote, "The Johnson administration remains intensely focused on the deeply troubling allegations of sexual misconduct by a police office by a Chicago Police Department officer against a minor new arrival, and other allegations of sexual misconduct in the Chicago Police Department's 10th district," the mayor's office said in a statement Friday. So all of this happened last week. So that's a very, very big deal. That is a very big deal. Now, we all know that it's a problem with them coming over here or whatever the case is. But this problem of police pretty much getting away with doing whatever to whoever, especially in sexually assaulting and sexual misconduct of people, police have been, especially the most notorious police departments, like the ones in Chicago, the ones in LA, the ones in New York, and the really, really bad ones, even though they're all bad everywhere, but the really, really bad ones, it's been rumors that police been doing that stuff for a long time. So I actually wanted to open up with that, and that leads me to something that I wanted to talk about next, because when we start to actually really, really look into, I don't know why this is up here. Get this off the screen. When we start to really look into the information at hand, the situation, it's really jumpy right now. The situation is a lot worse than we might think it is in the beginning. I don't know why it was jumpy. If it does that, excuse that. That's not me. That is just something with the articles is just doing that all of a sudden. That's not my computer or anything. He said Mississippi is bad too. Yeah, it is. It is. Okay. I agree with that. Now it says a police officer in Prince George's County, Maryland, was charged this week with, and for this word, we're going to substitute it with violating a woman during a traffic stop. He pled not guilty, but it's disturbing. But it's a disturbing headline. Even more disturbing when you consider there are hundreds more like him, more like thousands, to be honest. But okay, they're saying hundreds. And so you guys know, anytime they bring up information like this, anytime they say, "Oh, there are hundreds like this," there are hundreds. You have to know, if they say 10, just multiply that 10 by 3 or 4. If they admit to the 10, then there's probably another 30 or 40 that they're not going to admit to. All right. So every information that they give you, every number that they give you, you have to understand, yeah, they have biased to not show the actual true numbers in that. But it continues to say, yes, hundreds, according to research from Bowling Green State University. Police officers in the U.S. were charged with forcible violation 405 times between 2005 and 2013. Okay, that's a lot of time. That's not even 10 years. Okay, that's a lot of times. And the 405, you have to understand that 405, you should probably add another 0 behind the 5. That's probably a more accurate number, but what they're saying is based off their research is 405. But we all know it's more than that. But continue to say, it's an average of 45 a year. Forcible fondling and more common, with 636 instances. So what they're saying is this: the R incidents, those are not fondling incidents. They're separating those incidents. Fondling is when, she's in handcuff and the cop gets his hand full, you know what I'm saying? Get a feel, and I understand that this is a sensitive topic, but this is what happens. And then the R word, that's when it's like penetration and all that is done. Okay. Then it continues to say, yet experts say those statistics are by no means comprehensive. Data on sexual assault by police are almost non-existent, they say. And in quote, is just not available at all, said Jonathan Blanks, a research associate at the Cato Institute's project on criminal justice. You can only crowdsource this info. The BGSU researchers compiled their list by documenting cases of sworn non-federal law enforcement officers who have been arrested. But the 2016 federally funded paper, Police Integrity Lost, a study of law enforcement officers arrested, says the problem isn't limited to sexual assault. Quote, there is no comprehensive statistics available on problems with police integrity, the reports say, and no government entity collects data on police who are arrested. And so you guys know, when you'll see white supremacists and they'll bring up these fake statistics and they'll talk about, well, black people, statistically, the statistics say that black people commit most crimes. So no wonder you guys get stopped by the police the most. No wonder you guys get incarcerated and beat up and shot by the police the most, because the statistics verify that you guys are the most criminal. What did Candace Owens say? statistically, black people are the most murderous people in America. So they always cite those skewed statistics, but right here they're saying that statistics on police doing crimes, which should be very transparent, more transparent than society, to be honest, because they're police. The accurate statistics of police doing crimes, there pretty much no government entity that even tries to collect those statistics. So when they're citing, oh, the FBI said this, those FBI statistics do not count the police who do crimes. All right, they don't count that. It continues to say, it adds, shout out to the super chat, I'm gonna address that later, thank you very much, brother. It adds, quote, police sexual misconduct in cases of police sexual violence are often referred to as hidden offenses, and studies on police sexual misconduct are usually based on small samples or derived from officer surveys that are threatened by a reluctance to reveal these cases. Okay, so these are just they're saying they get this information, they compile this information based off of studies, not is so in the studies, and they're telling you how they get their information based off the studies. That's what they're saying. And the information right here, they're saying even the cases that we can really confirm based off the study, since nobody's just going to openly admit, yeah, I saw Officer Williams do blah, 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 blah. They're not going to openly admit that. They're saying even their studies can't really provide super accurate information. All right. This is a very important subject. Please make sure you all are leaving a like. That's very important. Okay. Where was I? It continues to say, the nation's foremost researchers on the subject thus must often rely on published media reports. The BGSU numbers, for instance, are a result of Google alerts on 48 search terms entered by searchers. The scholars then follow each case through adjunction. All right. So they're saying that, yeah, the information isn't as accurate as they would need it to be, because it's very hard to get information on police like that. It continues to say, while those numbers represent a fair portion of cases, arrests rely on a victim making a report and a law enforcement agency making that report public after an arrest or otherwise. With sexual assault by police officers, neither is guaranteed. So they're saying that the people would have to confess if it happened to them, which in a lot of cases, first off, in a lot of cases, just in general, people don't really come out about it, unfortunately, and that's not something good at all in any case, and especially when it comes to the police. And then with the people who do come to the police about it, then it's law enforcement, their fellow law enforcement, who's going to really make a report about it and investigate it, and then they have to make that public after the arrest is made. So it's a whole lot of red tape to getting those accurate numbers about the police actually doing anything. It continues to say why the numbers are lacking. One of the greatest impediments to understanding the scope of police sexual assault is the victim's reluctance to report the crime. And we have some videos, and they might be disturbing, but we have to talk about it. And it says, who do you call when a violator, y'all know what the word is, the RPist, or offender is a police officer? What a scary situation that must be, said Philip Sitton, an associate professor of criminal justice who served as principal investigator for the police integrity paper, and those research assistants maintain the BGSU database. No one interviewed for this story could give an estimate, even ballpark, on how underreported these types of crimes might be. And now this is a situation, I'm play this video after I read this quote up here. It says, quote, I have to think it's a much worse problem than my data suggests, said Sitson, himself a former police officer. Now check this out. There's not really no sound to it, so I'm gonna have to kind of pause it and read along, or if you guys can check it out. So these are New York detectives, Eddie Martin and Richard Hall, are facing a total of 50 charges. Some of the charges include first degree criminal sexual act, and second degree kidnapping. Okay, prosecutors say the detectives arped a woman in the back seat of their police van.
These allegations are truly disheartening. They're stunning. This young woman did not consent to what happened to her.
Okay, they both pled not guilty on all counts. Of course they would. And then it says Eddie Martin's attorney released a statement denying the charges against his client. Of course, I mean, yes. They deny the allegations, and that's what it is. And they're saying there's no claim. And then he said the Hall, and that's the black guy, he didn't respond for comment. The detectives can face 25 years in prison. Okay. And that's kind of low. 25 years in prison is low, to be honest. All right, and the videos that we're going to discuss gets worse than that. They get worse than that. All right. Continues to say, I see the other super chat. I'm going to address you. I appreciate you, fam. Yeah, it should be more. Exactly. It should be far more than that. All right. Far more than that. Continues to say, there are several reasons behind the muddy data. The federal government cannot compel states to make the nation's 18,000 law enforcement agencies report the numbers. That's not true. The federal government can compel states to do anything. You can ask Joe Biden about that. Remember when Joe Biden in the 90s, from his federal power, his influence in the federal government, I mean to say, when he influenced states, when he incentivized states to create harsher prison sentencing, he influenced and compelled states to do that. When states want to punish people, when states want to jail people, when they want to make harsher and stricter punishments, and they want to make 3 strikes rules and mandatory sentencing and over all that stuff, the federal government can compel states to do that. But now in this case, they're saying, well, the federal government, they really can't compel all of these agencies to do that. The federal government can. And there's a lot of misconduct in the federal government as well, not just the state government. There's misconduct in all that. But the federal government can if they wanted to. This is CNN trying to give them a pass where they shouldn't be given a pass. Continues to say, even if they could, which we know they can, but even if they could, the Justice Department wouldn't have the resources to oversee and maintain such a database, Blank said. Really? Really? They wouldn't have the resources? It's always, anytime it comes to getting police in check, anytime it comes to that, it's always, it's just so impossible. Anytime it comes when getting police in check, they act like you got to go from the moon and back. They act like it's an impossible feat that they can't do. They don't have the resources. They don't have the manpower. They wouldn't even know where to start. That's what they tell you. And it's just the resources, and then who's going to see it? And we don't have enough computers in the world for all of that data, and the cloud will break. And this is the best we can do. Sorry. Continues to say, unions also work hard to protect police officers and their reputation, he said. Quote, they don't want their officers and membership shamed if something goes wrong, Blank said. There also can be legal hurdles to obtaining basic information in such cases, he said. Quote, and that's on purpose. Some states' laws shield the identities of police officers who commit crimes. Now, the federal government, they're talking about the federal government can't do anything. The federal government completely get rid of that. The federal government can say, if these officers are convicted of crimes, their information is out there. All right. especially depending on the situation. So the federal government can step in and do something. He just said that so he can give the federal government a pass. All right. So they can. Let's not act like there's nothing that they can do. Says, he said they can do anything. They protect those who commit crimes, he said, while some jurisdictions include non-disclosure agreements in victim statements. Quote, the system is rigged to protect police officers from outside accountability, Blank said. The worst cops are going to get the most protection. And unfortunately, that's the truth. Before we play this video, and this video is going to be very disturbing for some, so I'm just letting you guys know that now. Got a lot of people in the chat room. I would appreciate if every single last one of you all hit that like button and hit this on Twitter, share this on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Text it to your siblings, your mom, your dad, whoever, right? Continues to say, victims include suspects and those police are supposed to protect. Oh, yeah, they supposed to. They doing what they want to do. What data is available prints a jarring picture. One statistic from Stanson, indicates that for every sexual assault that makes the news, there are almost always more victims, on average 5 more. So pretty much if they tell you it's 10, the number is more likely 50. Is pretty much what he's saying, which is pretty much what I said earlier. All right. Then it says about half of the victims are children. Okay. Children. About half of the victims are children. That's a very, very big deal. Okay. And this isn't, I know we're just talking about Chicago on this, or we're specifying Chicago in this situation, but this is a nationwide problem that needs to be addressed. That they're trying to say that the federal government doesn't have any capability to address, but they do. Stanson has gotten accustomed to hearing this research assistants proclaimed during their work. Oh my God, it's another 14-year-old. Victims can include both the people police are supposed to be chasing and those are charged with protecting, according to the police integrity paper. Now check this out. And this is going to be disturbing, but we're going to have to get through it.
I was violated in June by a police officer. He stopped me on 50th and Lincoln for no reason whatsoever, pulled me over, and fondled me and did certain things to me. I was out there alone and helpless, didn't know what to do. And in my mind, all I could think that he was going to shoot me. He was going to kill me. He did things to me that I didn't think a police officer would do. He made me perform all of sodomy sex on him. I didn't know what to do. I was so afraid. I was afraid for my life. I kept begging him, sir, please don't make me do this. Don't make me do this, sir. Please, you're going to shoot me. He said, I'm not going to shoot you. I said, yeah, you're going to shoot me. Only thing I could see was my life flash before my eyes and the gun in his holster on his right side. And as I tried to look up at his name, I was afraid to, because I said, if I know his name, I know he's going to kill me. So that I didn't do. So he did so many things to me, and I was so afraid, and I was out there, like I say, so helpless. God's will, he let me live. And he let me live to tell this story like a lot of victims are not able to do. And I thank God above for letting me do that. All I can say is I was a victim. I was traumatized. I went to therapy. I had a stroke behind this. And I still live with this day after day. And all I know is I wasn't a criminal. I have no record. I didn't do anything wrong. You said I did something wrong. You said I was swerving, which I was not. You just wanted to stop me. So all I could say is I was innocent, and he just picked the wrong lady to stop that night.
Yes.
I just want to say On the night that I was stopped, I didn't expect for none of that to happen. And when he approached the car, I mean, I didn't know what was gonna happen next, because me and some others was just sitting in the car, and they just came and approached the car, and it went from there. And once he did the arrest, I was took into a hospital on the whole opposite side of town, which I didn't think nothing of it at the time. And um, once I got there, they took off my clothes and handcuffed me to the bed and took me to a room, and no nurses, nobody came to check on me. And surely he just was started to manipulate me. And
Take your time.
me being in a room with the police, not expecting to get violated the way I did, the way I was done, I just couldn't even believe it. I couldn't I was speechless. I was scared. I didn't when everything was going down, I felt I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was in survival mode, so I had to do what he was making me do. So
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
So, yep, and we still got more, and there's still more videos. Now, here's the thing. Remember what we were talking about earlier. Pretty much for every case that we know of, there's like 5 cases that we don't know of. So, for everyone, especially out in public and everything like that, because there's a lot of trauma with that. Um, Most women don't really come forward just in general now, especially against law enforcement agencies and especially against police officers. So for everyone who comes in front of the police, there's 5 more, 6 more that don't want to say anything, that aren't going to say anything. Or if they do say something, these people they get kind of dismissed and ignored, and especially when it comes to black women, because there's a lot of over sexualization with black women. So a lot of that is, well, you was kind of acting flirty and everything like that, because they feel like every woman with wide hips is acting flirty no matter what she does. So well, if you weren't, you were implying that you wanted something. So it becomes that type of gaslighting type thing in a lot of cases, which why most cases really don't go public, and most people don't want to deal with the red tape of that anyway, because they know it's a very, very uphill battle. Oh, his name, you want to get his name? We'll get to his name. We'll get to his name later. They have his name in here. We'll get to it. Okay. And then it says, so it's really, really bad. It's really bad. Okay. But this is why it's very important for us to understand that this is a pandemic. We're talking about the pandemic of 2020. This is a much deeper, much worse pandemic than that. Okay. It can lead to depression. It can lead to people deleting themselves. It can lead to a lot of stuff. Drugs. It can lead to a lot of stuff. All right. It continues to say, quote, opportunities for sex-related police crimes abound because officers operate on a low visibility environment with very little suspicion. It says the potential victims of sex-related police crime include criminal suspects, but also unaccompanied victims of crimes. Sorry, I don't unaccompanied. My tongue is twisting today, and that's because I'm kind of a little bit getting heated just based off of reading this. So, I'm trying to stay calm. You guys know when I'm very upset, because when I'm very upset, then that's when I really, really try to stay as calm as possible. So I'm not saying something that I shouldn't be saying on YouTube. So I'm actually very upset and very heated by this. So I'm trying to stay as calm as possible. So you guys we gotta be with each other on this one. All right. It says, experts say officers who prey on people they encounter while on duty take advantage of the trust of public places on police as an institution. Quote, police have a reputation advantage over everyone. A reputable advantage over everyone, especially someone accused of a crime, Blank says, explaining that the regular Gallup poll shows again and again that police are third only to the military. There's a whole lot of that in the military. Only third to that in the military and small business owners in terms of trust. People want to believe the police. I don't know if it's people want to believe the police, or if people are terrified of the police and terrified of the consequences of coming forward. Because then if the police would do that, and everybody knows, because it's not a secret, everybody knows that police look after each other. So you don't know if you snitch on the police or whatever, now if you're going to get stopped for no reason, or the police going to target you, and nobody wants to be targets of that. So it's not, I just want to believe in them and I want to trust them. Nah, that's not really what it is. Okay. It continues to say, offenders who seek to violate people know this, experts say, and they are strategically selecting victims, bolstering their chances of not getting caught. Researchers find that the predominance of the victims fall into at least one of several categories. They have criminal records, are homeless, are sex workers, or have issues with drug or alcohol abuse. Especially predatory cops are picking on people who juries won't believe, or who won't trust police, or who don't trust police. Sitson said. All right. Now, they don't want to make it seem like this was a big racial issue. But I'm going to say this. The two women that you've heard from, those two women were assaulted by the same police officer. And the same police officer has 11 counts. Those were just two. The 11 different women. And you don't know how many women. If it's 11, then the number's probably like 55, to be totally honest. But 11 different women came out against the same police officer. Okay, his name is Daniel Holtzclaw. All right. So it's a racial element to this as well, too, that they're not wanting to admit to. Because a lot of times, like he said, jury won't believe. A lot of times, jury tend to be biased against black people, especially on behalf of police. So juries they know, okay, and that's why Daniel Holtzclaw specifically went after black women, because he's all like, people are probably raise an eyebrow or look into it if these were white women. But if these are black women, you know what I'm saying, and nobody's really going to care. And he was able to get away with it for so long until he got caught. So there's a racial element, and I'm not going to say that, but there's a very bad racial element to this as well, too. All right. It says the ripple effect. To be clear, now the caping. To be clear, the majority of police officers are good people, not sexual predators. Okay, even if we say the majority of police officers aren't sexual predators, that doesn't make them good people. It's not a white and black thing. Either you're a sexual predator or you're a good person. Yeah, there are no good sexual predators, but not being a sexual predator doesn't make you a good person. Yeah, majority of police officers are good people. They're not sexual predators. Well, that's the goalpost. You have to be a sexual predator. If not, you're a good person. That's a pretty low bar to say, but okay, all right, whatever. If that's what they want to say. Every expert interview every expert interviewed for this story concurs on this point. Really? Okay, whatever. Y'all concur on the point that the federal government can't do nothing either. So y'all saying some things and then y'all kind of throwing a little, y'all saving face a little bit too much for me personally. All right. Then it continues to say, but the problem is much larger than individual officers, said author and former Seattle police chief Norm Stamper. Quote, I think it's a big problem, he said. In reality, there's probably no law enforcement agency that has not had this problem. I agree. I think all police agencies have had this problem in every department. There's probably none that hasn't. I would agree with that. The ripple effect can be devastating to the community. Stamper, who was a policeman in San Diego for 28 years before taking the helm in Seattle in 1944, 94, recalled the California Highway Patrol officer Craig Pierre was convicted of a on-duty killing of student Kara Knott after a traffic stop. Continues to say, no San Diego officer was tangentially, which means even slightly, that's what tangentially means, even slightly involved. Yet the department experienced, really, I don't know about that. If you want to say there none of them was even tangentially, which means like slightly remotely involved. Okay, so CNN is trying to save the police a little bit. See, this is white supremacy. They take both sides of the argument. They're sitting up there acting like they're telling on the police, but they're throwing them little bones as well too. They're giving them little escape hatches as well too. So this is what they're doing with this. Some of them aren't bad. Most of them are good. And no San Diego police officers was tangentially involved. Oh, okay, all right. You're doing the most, CNN. You're doing the most. Yeah, it says, yet the department experienced enormous trust issues with the community, he said. Residents were fearful that some motorists were anxious about being pulled over, said Stamper. Those booked address the, quote, dark side of policing and how to fix it. Now he made a book. He booked address the dark side of policing. Okay. It cheats good cops, he said. If a officer, what cheats, you know what? I'm going to say this. What cheats good cops are the quote unquote good cops. Okay. Those are the good cops, because if the good cops created an environment that the bad cops don't feel comfortable in, there wouldn't be a bad cop problem. You guys make it, all these quote unquote good cops, they turn a blind eye, they act like they don't know anything. And then when the allegation pops up and the ones who get caught, all of the quote unquote good cops, they want to act like, oh, wow, this makes us all look so bad. How could you be doing this for 8 years and nobody noticed anything? That is so bad. I can't believe you were doing all this and nobody suspected a thing. And now the good cops are being punished. Well, if the good cops were monitoring all of the cops and created an environment where all of the cops are monitored and all investigations are looked into, then there wouldn't be that. So don't be acting, oh, the good cops are being cheated. The good cops cheat the good cops, if there are some. All right, that's really what it is. Continues to say, quote, if a police officer is arrested for having fondled a DUI suspect in the jurisdiction, that affects all officers. Yeah, well, that's y'all problem, and y'all should make sure that doesn't happen. All right, you should make sure that doesn't happen. That's your fault. And y'all know for a fact that if they do fondle a suspect and it makes the jurisdiction look bad, you should be double on top of it. Not even on the fact that, first off, you're a police officer. You're supposed to be making sure that doesn't happen. All right. But on top of the fact that you know for a fact that that's going to destroy the community, that's going to strip the community's involvement with you, is going to make them not trust you, is going to make people not want to go to you. Okay. So they should be on top of this. But these police officers, they let cases after cases after cases go by, and they don't do anything. All right. Let me calm down. They don't do anything. And then they want to act like they're the victims. All right. All right. Now, it goes on to say the trust issue is only exacerbated by the blue wall of silence we'll get into that, the blue wall of silence that erected when an officer is accused of a crime, he said. Now, let me ask you this. They always act like it's a blue wall because it's blind loyalty to the police, and it's super blind loyalty to the police. Let me ask you a question. Do you think if a black officer and I'm gonna ask people a number to leave a 1 in the chat if they think you all honestly think if a black officer was accused of sexually violating white girls, that white officers wouldn't snitch because of a blue wall of silence? Or do you think, leave a 1 in the chat if you think white officers would throw the blue code out the window if a black officer violated white girls? If you think that they have more racial loyalty than blue loyalty, I want you to leave a 1 in the chat room, because I'm gonna tell you my opinion. I think if black officers were out there violating white girls and white officers knew about it, I don't think that they would be all like, I'm sorry, Angelica. He's Jamal. I can't snitch on him. You know, he's my fellow partner in blue. He's my fellow brother with the badge. They wouldn't be doing that. See, the CNN is trying to make it seem like there's no racial aspect to this at all. Okay, because officers, they'll snitch on a black officer real quick if it was in that type of situation. Very, very quickly. Take a break. Now, it says, that is to be expected, Stamper said, because officers heavily rely on each other, especially in dangerous situations. And ratting out a colleague could mean trouble for another officer, for an officer the next time she or he needs backup. That's bullshit. That's what that is. That's what that is, okay? Talking about, it's dangerous because if we snitch on you, then if we get into a shootout, we won't have enough backup because these sexual predators, we don't have the sexual predators to back us up. So we can't snitch. That's why we don't snitch, because we just need so much help with shootouts. The police statistically don't get in as often as you might think they do based off of TV. Police don't get in shootouts like that. All right. It's not bad to the point where, we just need every sexual predator in the police office because if we need backup, we already snitched on John and Timmy. There's no backup because they're arrested for sexually assaulting people. What are we going to do? That's bullshit. Continuing. If I'm a snitch, when the chance that my fellow officers will not have my back is significant, the office police officer said. Now, that's the thing. What they're saying here and then what they said at the bottom is different, okay? It's dangerous. So that's some bullshit in the first time. The thing is that didn't they just say that most police officers are good? They said majority of police officers are really good people. right? Because they're not sexual, they don't sexually assault anybody. So if majority of people, let's just put on our thinking caps for 1 minute. If majority of police officers are these upstanding, great citizens, and if you snitch on someone who's suspected of sexually assaulting someone, and all of these other officers who are not in on it, okay, and who would hate it just as much as you did, right? And you snitch, you should be the hero of the department. Be weeding out the bad cops. Because don't they say, oh, to stop a bad cop, you need more good cops. So shouldn't you be the hero? Shouldn't they be rushing to back you up? How can you say that you would lose support from your fellow officers if most of your officers are good people? Those two things contradict each other. Those two things don't make sense. Then it continues to say, then this is the person, the violator, who was from the other video with the other two women, and they were talking about him. All right. Some possible solutions. Tamper and others believe the solution lies in revamping police culture and white supremacy, which is police culture. All right. The preliminary bureaucratic stature produced a dysfunctional culture. Stamper, I keep saying Tamper. Stamper added that for one of the quote more deculate and demanding jobs in America, officers are largely go unsupervised. Now brace yourselves, right? This is the officer.
For victims and supporters of the Daniel Holtzclaw case, it was a day for singing. A day for justice.
And this is a victory, not only in the courtroom, but a victory over rape for all women all over the world.
A day they'd waited for oh so long.
I know I couldn't have did this alone without you guys' help. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
Daniel Holtzclaw entered court in shackles on Thursday, facing a possible 263-year sentence, a sentencing that hundreds turned out to see, delayed more than 4 hours as patients were filled.
Even with the filing of the motion of a new trial, it does not inhibit him giving a sentencing, which should have happened 2 hours ago.
In the end, though, Judge Henderson stuck with the jury, sentencing Daniel Holtzclaw to 263 years to be served consecutively, celebrated by victims, prosecutors alike.
Many victims believe that no one will believe them. And I will tell you, these women didn't think that either, but we did, and you see what happened.
All right. Now, here's some of the rules they have here. Specific to sexual assault, experts say they would like to see departments enact, and these are bullet points, policies to make victims feel safe. Stinson said, which could include online or anonymous reporting and special officers trained in dealing with sexual assault victims. Another bullet point says, GPS tracking of officers, especially those with take-home vehicles, and monitoring of officers. If a supervisor notices a patrolman predominantly stops women between ages of 18 to 30 at the same time of night in the same part of town, it would raise red flags. Rules forbidding departments from hiring officers who were fired from other agencies, which happens too frequently, Stamper says. Also, too, what also happens in that situation is when an officer is getting caught and an officer is about to get fired, a lot of times the officers, what they do is they resign. Okay. So they'll resign and then they'll wait for the heat to die down or whatever the case. So it's on their record that they were never fired, that they resigned from that department, and then they'll wait a certain amount of time and then they'll go reapply to another department. So that there is a little loophole that they get. So under an investigation, what they need to put on a bullet point, what they need to put is when an officer is under investigation, the officer cannot resign, and if the officer resigns, the investigation is still going to be on their paperwork. So they'll say resign during an investigation, which looks suspicious, you know, because when a department picks up their resume or whatever the case is, they say, oh, well, you resigned from this office, but they don't put in the paperwork that they resigned while they were under investigation. So the paperwork should say, if I don't think they should, because they should be fired. So even if they do resign under investigation, their paperwork should always say resigned under investigation for certain actions, whatever actions that they're under investigation for. All right. And it says mandates that officers must activate their body cams and dash cams and be punished if they don't. This will automatically vindicate officers more often than not, experts say. Well, here's the thing. Anytime the body cam or dash cam vindicates officers, they know that. They have their body cams on all of the time. And their dash cams on all of the time. The only times where they don't have their body cams and their dash cams on is because they know they're about to do something and they don't want to get caught doing it. That's the only time. Besides that, they have them on all the time. There's no situation where they found that the officer was telling the truth and the officer had a body cam and the body cam wasn't released. And see, that's a problem that they need to say in the bullet point too. The situations where they need to see the body cams and the dash cams need to be released. Remember the case with Laquan McDonald. They had the dash cam of the situation with Laquan McDonald, and the family had to fight to get the dash cams. All right. So to a degree, what they'll do is they'll say, oh, mandatory body cams, mandatory dash cams. And then when the dash cams or body cams catch something, they don't want to release that. It should be a mandatory activation of the body cams or dash cams. You can't accidentally turn it off, because they like to do that when they plant certain things. They'll turn, and I've shown this in videos before, they'll turn off their body cams, they'll plant something, go back to the car, turn the body cams back on, and then walk over. Oh, look what I found right under here. I knew where to find it. That's crazy. They do that. All right. So it's no turning the body cams off, no hiding it, no covering it, nothing. And when the investigation goes through, they have to release the body cam or the dash cam, unlike they were doing with Laquan McDonald, because they don't like to do that. They'll say, well, the body cam was on, but they'll wait years until they release the body cam, if they ever do. So that needs to be a bullet point as well, too. It's not going to vindicate more officers, okay? Because the officers who are not doing stuff, they use it already. It's only going to catch more. That's what I say. Then it says, occasional sting operations involving internal affairs aimed in ensuring police officers are appropriately interacting with the public. Oh boy, hold on. Okay, it just like jumped all the way up to the top for whatever reason. Quote, it's critical supervisors trust officers, but trust is earned, Stamper said, adding that the job is too important to trust officers blindly. Police chiefs and sheriffs defending bad cops also erodes trust, Stamper said. He finds himself frustrated, he said, every time he sees a police execute step to a sorry. I don't know why I can't say that word. My tongue is twisting right now. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. Every time he's podium, okay. Every time he sees a police executive step to a podium to decry the bad apples responsible for the crime, that has tainted the department. Quote, if they repeatedly go back to the bank with microphones and bemoans the bad apples, it's time to look at the barrel, okay? Look at the orchard. Yeah. Look, and that's like a apple forest. Like, you know how apple forest, there's a lot of apple trees in there. So yeah, look at if it's bad apple after bad apple after bad apple, I think it's time to look at the barrel of apples. Okay, you're not gonna get 50% bad apples and the rest are just perfectly fine. No, that doesn't happen. And as you all know, with apples, one bad apple spoils the bunch. All right. Then it continues to say, are national standards in order? Accountability is critical to changing police culture, experts say. Stamper believes informally via licensing of individual officers and the certification of police departments is key. All 18,000 departments operate under their own rules based on their jurisdiction, policies, procedures, and recruitment methods, he said. He believes creating national standards, not for small things, but for constitutional issues, could improve the quality of policing. Now, this is a video of Daniel Holtzclaw, the one who was up there who got sentenced for violating those women. This is him right here, and this is the video of him being questioned under that situation.
The quiet Daniel Holtzclaw we saw in the courtroom,
you have the right to remain silent,
decided to speak up without an attorney and answer to allegations of sexual assault.
You haven't heard any rumors? She's saying that you made her lift up her shirt, and when she lifted up her shirt, she exposed her breasts. But could she have been flashing you? And now you don't want to tell me because you're afraid you're in trouble?
No, when I told her no, I said no.
For more than 2 hours, Holtzclaw told his side of the story about his now fateful traffic stop with 57-year-old Jenny Liggins.
What's the deal? You know, why are you swerving?
Do you recall putting your penis in her mouth?
I don't.
Would you recall that if you did it? A thing that kind of concerns me is everything you're telling me is dead on to what she says. Everything. Except the sexual stuff.
Nothing was done.
Even through redirected questions, the then Oklahoma City police officer maintained his innocence.
I'm just trying to think of anything that she could have misconstrued.
I've never been in trouble like this before. Never got accused of anything like this or nothing.
Holtzclaw states the only sex he tried to have that day was with his still sleeping girlfriend when he got home.
I don't know what to say. I mean, because it just looks like I just caught you in a lie. And now I don't know what to believe.
I'm telling you.
I don't know what to believe.
In the end, Holtzclaw willingly strips down for DNA samples before calling his girlfriend.
I need to tell you what's going on. It's crazy.
It's the last time he'll wear that uniform and only the first step toward conviction on 18 counts of sex crimes.
Yep. Okay. Another thing I would say too is when police officers are being questioned, the people questioning the police, I'm gonna scroll down because we're pretty much done at this point. The people questioning the police, they need to be public. That needs to be public information as well too, because it can't be police policing police. It can't be that. It needs to be a separate department. You know what the federal government can do? You know what? And I just thought about this just now. What the federal government can do, since they're saying that there's nothing that the federal government really can do about it, what the federal government can do is they can set up, which is something what Joe Biden said he was going to do, but then he dropped it as soon as he became president, mind you. All right. But what they can do is they can create an oversight thing, a completely separate department that are incentivized to catch police. See, when you have these departments that investigate police, but they don't have any incentive to actually get the police. So a lot of times they're incentivized to let the police go. You need to have departments that are looking to catch the police, that are looking hard to investigate the situations. Just the same way prosecutors are looking to prosecute. They're looking for every bit of information. They're looking for every inconsistency. They're looking for every lie. You need that for police. Not a sheriff questioning his deputies. That's not what you need. You need somebody completely from outside the department who has no relation to any of those police officers and actually is incentivized to catch something. Oh, when you have that, then you'll have a lot of them look into information that are overlooked. That's overlooked. That's what you'll have. Okay. Now, mind you, just remember earlier in this article where they said that the federal government can't do anything about it. They said that, but this is something that the federal government can do. This is something that Joe Biden said he was going to do. And then when Joe Biden said he was going to do, he said, I'll leave that up to Congress. And then Congress like, yeah, we're not touching that. Okay. And then it continues to say, if a licensed officer were to violate someone's rights by illegally searching or arresting them, manipulating evidence, using unnecessary force or coerce, engaging in sexually predatory behavior, that officer's license will be yanked and they should be in jail, not just yanked. Likewise, the city police department with a pattern of violations could lose its certification and be taken over by the county. That's true. The officers also, actually, I agree with that. The whole department should be punished because this is going to make the officers weed that out. Oh, if an officer gets caught, especially with a sexual crime, the whole department got to take a blow. Everybody, y'all should have caught it. Y'all should have caught it before it happened. That's too bad. You didn't know, that's too bad. You gonna know next time. You're going to be very well aware next time. You're going to look for the signs next time. I can guarantee you that. But everybody in that department, we're just going to assume everybody knew. That's what we're going to do. Everybody know until we don't know. Okay? Everybody knew. Too bad. Wrong place, wrong time, cop. That's what you get. And I bet you then they're going to look at their officers. I bet you, cold turkey, all that stuff going to stop. You got to get into all their pockets like that. All right. All right. An offending officer's department can be taken over by the state, he said. Okay. Also look at the state departments too. Okay. We're not just going to act like this is the county level or department level. Okay. All forms of government got this going on. All right. So let's look into that. The pie in the sky scamper acknowledged, but until America changes the nature of the conversation around policing, things are destined to remain the same when it comes to crooked cops. Quote, the forces of resistance are powerful, he said, but if you push the system, it's going to push back with equal or greater force. That's what needs to happen. And I said this, right? I did this because I want you guys to know whether the situation, and we're going to get back onto Chicago. We're going to get back onto Chicago, but I wanted to touch on this for a minute. But this is a good way to introduce the problem, that this is a big, big problem. This is not a phenomenon to any degree at all. It's not. All right. Now I want to get to the super chats. I don't want you guys to feel ignored. Shout out to J John 0440 for the $1 super sticker, the 1999 super sticker, or the 99 cents. I said 1999 like it's $100. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Then we have YGLTB1. YGLTB1. I appreciate you. B1 to you. Appreciate you. It's amazing how fast people rally behind immigrants versus FBA women. That's a really good point. That's a very, very good point. All right. That's a good point. All right. Versus FBA women that has been and still are complaining about being forcibly violated by race soldier. Justice delayed is justice denied. Thank you, because that was a 1999 super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that is a really good point, because to be clear, all violation, no matter who it's done on or who it's done from, is absolutely unacceptable. It's absolutely wrong. No exceptions at all under any circumstance. All right. Let's make that 100% clear. Especially when it's a minor involved, especially in that situation. All right. That we have to understand that. On the other hand, why are they getting attention now that this is blowing up? Now it's a whole bunch of articles. Now everybody wants to act like, oh, we got to do something when they get violated, which should be done. Don't get me wrong. Something should be done. Investigation should be had. Don't get me wrong. All right. But when it comes to actual citizen black women, the FBA women, they're like, are you sure you didn't just flash them? Are you sure you didn't grind up on them? Are you? And a lot of those cases, they get ignored. You know what I'm saying? So there's a disproportionate amount of energy and focus when it comes to the migrants coming over and their accusations of sexual assault versus FBA women. So that was a really good point you made, fam. I appreciate that. All right. Then we have our brother Cyberdyne 100 for the 1999 super chat. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much, brother. I really, really appreciate that. All right. Now we're going to, like I said, get back to the Chicago situation. Gonna get back to that. Where was I? Okay. It's right here. Okay. I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, this is not the same article. Okay. Because I just didn't want to read you guys the same article because they were both about the Chicago thing, right? Then it says, okay, in this article, and this is from CBS News. The CBS News article says the Chicago Police Department is investigating claims of several officers, not one or two, several, keep in mind, several officers engaged in sexual misconduct with migrants living at the West Side police station. Many in the community are expressing outrage as key questions remain unanswered. Now, remember in the article before, they're not going to bring it up in this one, but in the article before, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, acknowledged that the accusation is about a minor, or one of the people are about minors. All right, a minor is involved in the accusations. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, and it continues to say, all of the migrants who are being housed at the 10th district have now been relocated. The group has been dispersed to a number of shelters across the city, and many are bussed out early Friday. Many were bussed. I don't know where they said that the shelters were packed, and that the reason why they were at the police station was because the shelters were packed, and now they're saying they're leaving the shelters, the police stations, to go to the shelters. So, that's not really making sense, but that's not here or there. We'll talk about that later. That's another subject. All right. Continues to say the allegations being made are very disturbing. Police officers are accused of having sex with migrants. Sources say as many as 4 officers were involved. And if you know it's 4, the number's probably 10, to be honest. But okay, they're saying 4. 4 officers were involved. Or if it's 4 who are doing it, is at least about 10 who know about it. Okay. I put a good 6 more on that who probably see something or saw something or suspect something. So isn't it all right? They want to say it's 4. Okay. They were involved in the alleged misconduct. Sources tell CBS 2 that the teenage, now in the other one they were saying it was a minor. This one is saying it's a teenager. All right. That the teenage migrant is now pregnant as a result of one of these alleged encounters. Wow. All right. Now pregnant. Which that's going to be pretty difficult to lie about. If that's kind of proof right there, that's all the DNA proof that you need. It's kind of going to be very, very difficult to lie that somebody violated you and got you pregnant, because they can easily do a DNA test and match to see if the DNA is correct. So that's going to be a difficult lie to pull off. So pretty much that's a confirmation that that's true, because that's not even something you would even think to lie about, because that's so proof. It's so much proof to prove if that was not the case. All right. Alderman Andre Vasquez of the 40th Ward and chair of the newly established Committee on Immigrants and Refugee Rights, is describing the allegations coming out of the 10th Police District as horrifying and disgusting. Quote, "We are talking about a minor from another country," he said. "There might be language barriers. There's power dynamics. Okay. We are talking about government employees that are in charge of keeping the public safe." Now, as we just established earlier, it's wrong no matter who does it. Okay, whether they're from another country or not. But they're kind of making it seem like this is extra wrong because it's an immigrant. We're talking about a minor from another country. What difference does it make if it's a minor from another country versus a minor from this country? I can see if we're talking about a minor, that's one thing. We're talking about a minor from another country. Does that make it worse? I'm not saying it makes it better. Don't get that confused. It doesn't make it better, but it doesn't make it worse either, because it would be just as bad if it was FBA or a citizen. So I'm just saying that's as pointless really as saying we're talking about a minor who was wearing blue shoes. Okay, the color of the shoes that's kind of a pointless thing to bring up, really. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it seem like these minors are super victims and everything. They're trying to put a little spin on it, like, oh my God, look at how bad the migrants got it, or whatever the case is. These cops been doing this to people who aren't immigrants. So we're not going to put the immigrants are all so unprotected. That's what they're trying to do. Okay. So to say that the only logical reason to add the fact that they're from another country is to try to make it seem like these migrants have it so bad here. All right. And of course, this is not me saying that it's any less bad. All right. Vasco says CPD and its relations with immigrants are already on the radar. The state attorney general is currently investigating claims that the department was accused of denying hundreds of undocumented immigrants a chance to apply for a special visa designed for crime victims. Okay, what does this have to do with victims and visas? We're not talking about visas and all that. See, what they want to do, and this is not saying that this is any less wrong, but they want to do is they want to talk about victims and they're denying this, and then they want to put a little bit of extra into it. They're violating them and they're denying them visas. Hold on. Them being assaulted, that's the problem. Them being denied visas is not the problem. They're trying to make a correlation between the two. They're denying them visas. They're denying them student loans. Whoa. We're on something else. Don't try to mix the two. They're trying to like blur the lines. Yeah, they're totally being no. They can be denied visas. They're undocumented immigrants being denied a chance for visas. They shouldn't be here. All right. We're talking about a problem. Now, whether they shouldn't be here or not doesn't give them a reason to be violated, doesn't justify them being violated. That's why we're talking about this. But we're not going to sit up here and make it seem like, oh, they're being done just so wrong they can't get visas. No. All right. So I get what you're trying to do. I saw it coming, but no, that's what it is. No. All right. I think now with this new, I think now with this new story, we want to make sure that that an investigation is done, because without one done, to have a hearing and the only answer will be, well, this is currently part of investigation, he said. It says the only thing that the Chicago Police Department would confirm is that it is is that it has opened an investigation into the allegations. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability, the agency that investigates police misconduct cases, is also investigating. The Federal Order of Police, the union that represents Chicago police officers, is pushing back against the claims, claiming them ridiculous in a statement on YouTube late Friday. And then this is their quote. Hold on. Right here. Quote, "There is no validity to the complaints," said John Cantanzara. Well, I feel like a woman being pregnant and saying that she was pregnant by an officer, that's some validity right there. That's either 100% true or it's 100% false. That is either his baby, which you guys can prove, or that is not his baby. So what do you mean? There's no validity to the complaints. A pregnant woman, I think, is pretty a little bit of validity. I think so. And that was the president of OFP. That's the Federal Office of Police. Quote, "There is no basis or origin of where it originated from." There needs to be an origin of where it originated from? Okay. There's no basis or origin of where it originated from. We don't have the victim's name or anything, or victims repeatedly. Multiple at this point. Who knows if it's even true? Okay. They're not doing that good of a job defending the police. They're really not. Oh, we don't even know their name. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. A spokesman for Mayor Brandon Johnson released a statement Friday saying the city is taking these allegations very seriously. The names of the officers allegedly involved in the situation have not been released. And that's the last of it. So, get the chat pull back up. So, could it be true? More than likely it is. Because the thing is, especially in Chicago, and I know a lot of times I frame Chicago's police as like the worst police ever. But Chicago police, and I've made a whole video on that when I talked about like the history of Chicago, why Chicago's so corrupt. I made a video talking about Chicago police were kidnapping and torturing, just torturing, not investigating, just kidnapping and torturing black people. So yeah, I have a very special hatred for them, for that. All right. And Brandon Johnson has acknowledged that as well too. But the thing is that when these allegations do come up, especially come up to the public, in the public eye, and articles are investigating and all of that, more than likely there is a lot of evidence to verify that, because it's not just a rumor that went around and then CNN and then CBS and all of these other news publications, they just jumped on it because of a rumor. No, there's evidence to support this. There are numerous statements to support this. There are witnesses to support this. And this is why people are like, hey, this is probably something we should kind of look at. The only time they really look at something is when the case is starting to get to a boiling point where it's all like, okay, well, now we got to look at this now. It's not just one little rumor. So just off the fact that this is even a subject at all leads to, and I got to be careful with my words, leads to the fact that this is probably true. What they're alleging is probably very true. On top of the fact that this is something, and we cited the CNN article, this is something that happens throughout America in general. This is something all police departments participate in. all of the time. And most of the time, they go unreported. And not just with adults, with children as well, too. And Chicago is not shy of that at all. So, more than likely, this is very true. More than likely, this is very true. But I am going to keep up with this story. Definitely going to keep up with this story here. Now, something else I wanted to show you all before we get off here. Let me see. Hold on. This Friday, I'm going to be hosting a reparations meeting. I'm going to show it to you guys right now. Hold on. I got to get this off the thing because that's StreamYard only allows you to post one thing. But this Friday, check this out. This is the location that we're going to be meeting. And this is going to be, I'm like, it's time for us to take initiative to these things, to these meetings. So since we're talking about Chicago, I definitely wanted to bring this up. So this is a public library. It's free. You know, of course, I wouldn't charge anything or whatever. It's this Friday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. So if you're in the Chicago area, it's definitely a good thing that you guys come up because we're going to be networking. There's going to be a lot of like-minded people. I'm going to bring light refreshments. So there's going to be like water bottles and maybe chips or cookies or something like that. And going to be a pizza party. There's going to be that, bring your kids too. It would be a good experience for your kids to be there, because there's a lot of books and stuff like that your kids might pick up or whatever the case is. I would just advise that if they're like very small kids to make sure you bring like an extra like bottle or whatever the case is, because this is library. So we are going to be discussing this in a meeting. So if you guys are in the Chicago area, you definitely want to be a part of this because we're going to be discussing our own agenda, a community-based agenda, not an agenda that's going to be presented to us and then we got to say yes or no to. Instead of an agenda coming to us that we either give the thumbs up or the thumbs down to, we're going to, as the people, we are going to formulate our own agenda and we're going to say, you guys sign off on this agenda that we're giving you all. So that's the intention behind this. So I already got some bullet points and things like that. It's going to be a pretty productive meeting. So I invite everybody to participate if you guys are available. So yeah, get that off. So it's a lot going on in Chicago right now. It's a lot going on. This is why we got to be on our P's and Q's. This is why we as a community have to make sure that we look after each other. This is why we have to make sure that we protect each other, that there's no environment of stuff like this happening. All right. And we also have to understand that we have to get on these politicians about this because this investigation needs to be very transparent, very swift. The fact that we don't know the officer's name means that the officers or the victim's name, you can tell us that one of the victims are a minor. You can tell us that one of the victims are a minor and one of the victims are pregnant, but you can't tell us nobody's name. All right. Nobody's okay. That means it's not fully transparent. And then when they say officers were called, I want everybody to be super transparent. Who is the one overseeing this? Who is the one checking on it? Like everything needs to be very, very transparent because we're not trying to play games. All right. We have to create this environment across all of the police stations. Okay. And we have to remember there are things that the CNN article denied this, but that's a lie. There are things that the federal government can do to solve this problem. The thing is, family, we're not at the point where we're relying on any other group of people to solve our problems. We're at the point where we're taking initiative, we're leading the conversation, and we're saying it's not up to you anymore, it's up to us. We're going to solve our problems for ourselves. We're going to be the ones protecting ourselves. We're going to be the ones looking after ourselves. All right. And this will also create an environment where if a certain thing happens to you, you feel more comfortable coming out about it because you have the community's support, So it's a very sensitive topic. It triggered me. I know it triggered you all, but it's definitely something that had to be discussed. Definitely. And I want to thank every single last one of you all for coming through. Follow me on my various social media pages. The link to that is in the description. Also is right here. It's Afro Elite on Instagram and the Afro Elite on Twitter. All right. Follow me on those. The links to that is in the description below. Make sure you guys are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. That, my brothers and sisters, be one salute to every single last one of you all. And you all have a good one.